Well, hi, friends. It is so good to see you, and I am so excited that you have been going on this 30-day devotional towards better relationships with us. I've said it before, and I got to say it now. Listen, 2014 is the year to do relationships better, and I'm telling you, it has been a joy. It's been an honor for me to really sit with my friends, tremendous people, great people, not only as individuals, but in their respective fields of influence. And it's been an honor to sit and talk with them as we've really just been discussing my new book, The People Factor. If you haven't gotten it, make sure you pick it up, because there are some tremendous things in here that will help you do relationships better. And I really believe it's going to change your life. And so we are at chapter 8. And let me tell you, this is a doozy. It's one of the principles that I had to learn. And I honestly will tell you, I almost had to learn it the hard way. And I talk in the introduction of chapter 8 about it. Chapter 8 is about what I call the law of true value. And I kind of title it the fact that sometimes the most valuable people in your life are not always the most visible people. And I share a little bit of my story about the fact that my wife is undeniably the most valuable person in my life. But there was a time where she wasn't very visible to me, meaning that I almost overlooked her. I didn't really think at the time when we were dating that she was going to be a person of significance. We were friends. And at the time, I had no idea that she was the one that God brought in my life to be my wife. I was so busy looking at so many other things, and my life was going in so many different other directions. And I dated several individuals, and I had this ideal in my mind about what I wanted my wife to be and what I wanted my wife to look like. And the whole time, my wife was right in front of me as my best friend, but I just didn't see it until much later. And I tell that story in the book because it happens all the time. Whether it's a pro athlete, whether it's just a regular individual, sometimes we miss the greatest relationship blessing because that person is not as visible in our life. But sometimes the most valuable person, literally, may not be the most visible. So this is good. I know we got to talk about this. Tasha, jump right in.
Well, for me, Paz, it put me in a space of prayer, like immediately. I said, okay, who is my invisible person or my invisible people? So I prayed, Lord, remove the scales from my eyes so that I can clearly see who these individuals are and participate accordingly. I think that it's almost the unsung hero situation in the chapter. When you begin to talk about the Little League World Series and the young men and how when they were receiving their accolades, the mayor made sure to acknowledge the parents. Right. And so often we overlook our parents. Yeah. And so I start thinking about it from the concept of people that are in my face. I talk to my mother every day. I talk to my aunt every day. I talk to my sister most days. These are people that are visible on a regular basis, but in areas, their strength in my life, the character, their value has been invisible to me. I haven't really seen and taken note of their true value. And this chapter really opened my eyes in some ways. And I still feel as though that there are invisible people in my life right now, but there may be people to come later in life. And I love that this book and this chapter has prepared me for that.
Tasha, I can really appreciate what you were saying. And as you were talking, actually, I am wondering, should these people be invisible to everyone else, but not invisible to me? If they're really that critical in my life, and I'm really paying attention to the important people in my life, then my thought was they shouldn't be invisible to me. I should value them more. I should see what they're doing. But oftentimes that does not happen. And I think about a couple of people that weren't necessarily so critical to me. And both of these young ladies, I actually mentioned it to Paz just a few moments ago, both of these young ladies, one of which was a member of our team and one which was a member of my team at my previous job, they both died very early. But they were very quiet. But I looked up at their funerals, and there were at both 500 to 600 people at each of their funerals. And I'm going, what in the world? They had an impact. They had an impact on someone, and they were invisible in a lot of lives. But I immediately began to think, even at the last funeral, is that's the person I want to be. You know, you don't necessarily have to be the person that's out front. You know, we all have these goals and we're driven to do all of these great things, but all of the great things that you do don't have to be things where you're out front. And I like to sit back and see things and go, I took part in that. I might not necessarily be the person that's up there, even with Pass on Sunday. I might not necessarily be the person that's up there on pulpit, but I took part in that. I'm glad that I'm a part of this, whether I'm in the background or not. It's an awesome thing to be a part of.
Visible doesn't equal volume.
Exactly. Everything that elevates me is not a promotion. And so I was elevated by so many different things, lateral moves, by other relationships, and people get so caught up in promotion and what they're going to be promoted to. But I quickly learned that everything that elevates me is not necessarily a promotion, and it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm out front, but I still got elevated in the way that I needed to be.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
So.
Stephanie and Tasha, you both have opened up so many different things about this particular chapter. And for me, I looked at different things that I saw in here. And one of the things that I think that we always often notice, you see the woman that was there that's making the sacrifice, doing the things. And we're talking about all great leaders in history had a strong woman with them. And that person was with them from the very beginning all the way through. And they were some of the most valuable people, because you cannot be successful without having people like that around you that can build you up and be there for you. But sometimes what you see today is you see those people that were there and then they're kicked to the side for something else because the better looking case that's on the trophy that's in there. There you go. I mean, but that's what happens. And so those people, and it really makes me go back and think about people in my life. And I value people that had a very major influence on my career. And I don't take that kind of stuff lightly. And a lot of times people say, well, you don't have to thank me, or you don't have to. No, I do, because you've been very valuable and instrumental in what I've been doing. And so I try to think about those things, and this really highlights that. And you can't take that stuff for granted. So, I mean, it's just amazing, man. This kind of stuff, a lot of times, especially today with how things are, people really don't value the importance of those kind of people in our lives. Yeah,
that's good.
Sly makes such an excellent point about sacrificial giving. And Pastor Van, when you talk about your wife, a university professor, and she got her doctorate, and she really just said, I'm going to follow you. We're going to do your dream in Birmingham, Alabama. Not everybody wants to come to Birmingham, Alabama to live. And so she was willing to do that. And it just took me to such a great place thinking about the people who have helped me reach dreams by being a sacrificial giver, a behind-the-scenes person. For us, and we tend to be in front of the scene, you know, right in front of the camera, as you can see, kind of people. And so a woman who was a vice president of a bank wanted to see my dream of a morning talk show come true. And for free, she got up in the middle of the night to answer the door, to organize my notes so that I wouldn't be alone, to prepare coffee. And to this day, it means so much to me. You know, true leaders have people who believe in their vision and are willing to make the sacrifices necessary to see people's dreams come true. And there's nothing like that.
Well, guys, I mean, what we've been talking about just resonates with me on so many different levels. Beyond the fact that, you know, I wrote the book, I think it's an issue that everybody faces. And one of the questions I want to pose for those of you that are watching is simply this, particularly on chapter 8 about the law of true value. What happens when what you want from a relationship is not what you need? Meaning, I think so many people choose wrong because I think we have never been taught to value the right things in people. So what ends up happening is we have those individuals who've been valuable to us, but they haven't been visible. And we end up choosing not them, but somebody else because they are up front, they're in our face, or maybe they've got a little bit more celebrity value, or maybe they've got more bells and whistles or whatever. But we end up choosing wrong because often those are the individuals that don't help our life. They don't advance us. They don't add value to us. So one of the questions that I pose to you as we're closing is make sure you choose well. Be sure to get the book and read this chapter, because it just may be that the people that you think are the most valuable are not for your destiny and for your future. But listen, be sure to check us out on tomorrow because I'm excited. We've got some great stuff that we're going to get into as we go further in the discussion of the people factor.